Welcome to QZenith video tutorials. Hi guys, hope you're doing great, and in this video we're going to learn about file permissions. So let's get started. Let us click on this main terminal and then let us create a file first. I'm going to type ll, hit enter, and we can see that we've got desktop and templates directory, and I'm going to use touch command to create a file, file1.txt, hit enter. So it's going to create an empty file, ll, hit enter to verify, and there we can see the file. Now the permissions over here, what they mean, let me tell you. We know that it is a file. It's mentioned over here as dash, and then if you see D, that means it's a directory. Now these are the default permissions when we create a new file. So you can see RW, and then there's a dash, and then we've got another RW, again dash, and then we have got R and then dash dash. So let us understand what R stands for. R stands for read. So that means this permission is defined to a specific user, and if that user has this specific permission, that means he is allowed to read a file. Another permission is known as W, that is again write. So that means if you have got a write permission, that you can do changes, right? You can modify the file, you can delete the file as well. And then we have got the third permission, not mentioned over here, but you can see that those third permissions are mentioned over here on those directories. So that is known as X, which is again known as execute. So execute again is applied for executable file. So we can see that this is a file, but it's not an executable file. It's a text file, a regular file. That's why there is no X mentioned over here. If there was any kind of script mentioned over here, such as a Python script or maybe bash script, that means it has to be executable, and then the permission execute has to be mentioned. So in our case, this is a regular file, a text file, and in a text file we don't have to use the X or the execute permission. Now we know that it's read, write, and execute, but we have 3 times repeated over here. So we have got RW. If we have full permission, that means it's going to be X, RW, and then X, and then RW, and then X. Now why we have got RWX repeated 3 times? So the first RWX, read, write, execute, stands for the owner permission. That means who is the creator of that file? QZenith is the user of that file, or I would say QZenith is the owner of that file. QZenith created, because we are logged in as QZenith user. So the owner has the read, write, execute permission. If you have got full permission, that means owner can do whatever he wants to do with that specific file. Again, we have got another permission, that is again read, write, execute repeated. Now this is for the group. So you know that we have discussed about the users and groups in the previous video. So that means group. I also mentioned in the previous video that we created a group named group 1, and then we have 2 members within that specific group, that is user 1 and then user 2. I also mentioned that if I'm going to apply any kind of permission over here in group 1, that means that specific permission is going to be applied to that specific users or the members of that specific group. So as of now, this second permission, read, write, execute, the group is mentioned over here. So we know that QZenith is the owner of that specific file, and by default QZenith is the member of that specific group. So it's defined by default over here, the group name QZenith as well. And if you wanted to verify, is there any user assigned to that group, or is there any user that is member of that specific group? To verify it, you can use id command followed by the username, or you can use another command such as groups followed by the username, or you can go cat/etc and then group to this specific file just to make sure that what users are assigned to that specific group, or what users are the member of that specific group. So if I wanted to verify is there any user assigned to this specific group, I can always go to cat/etc group file and then hit enter, and there you can see this is the group name QZenith and there is no user member of this specific group. That means the permission that is mentioned for that specific file in the group doesn't have any user. So that means whatever permission you're going to give it to that group, no matter what, it's not going to be applied to any of the user. So the third read, write, execute, this third permission is for the others. That means the leftover users who is not the owner of this file and who doesn't belong to that specific group. The remaining users in the system has this permission. So I'm going to make you understand one by one how it actually affects in the system and how these permissions work in a file for a specific user. So I'm going to clear the screen and let us verify how many users we have got in this system. So ls-l/home. Here we've got 4 users. QZenith and user1 are admin, or I would say they have got sudo privileges. So to verify it, you can run id QZenith, hit enter, id user1, id user2, and then id user3. Now you can see that sudo again is group mentioned over here in this specific group name. So that means QZenith is the member of sudo group. So QZenith has the privilege to add, delete, modify, do changes, install, uninstall, everything. And then even user1 is the member of sudo group. So that means he has got the privileges of changing, modifying. And then we've got user2 and user3 that doesn't belong to the sudo group. Now let me go to the main directory, the root directory, cd root, hit enter, present working directory, and let us create a new directory, mkdir z share, hit enter. Now you can see that logged in as QZenith, and when I'm trying to create a directory on root directory, it says that permission denied, and then QZenith cannot create that specific directory on the root partition. So to do that, you need to run with sudo command and then hit enter, just to make sure that QZenith has the privilege to create that specific directory. So QZenith password, hit enter. Now the directory is created. So to verify, what you can do is ls-l, hit enter, and there you can see z share. Now when this directory was created, the default permissions are mentioned over here. So read, write, execute, read and execute, and read and execute. Now I wanted to provide full permission to that specific directory. So chmod, and then I'm going to use symbolic mode to assign full privilege. So to assign full privilege, I can say plus read, write, execute, and then followed by the name of the directory, and then hit enter. So you can see that operation not permitted, because again this command is not acceptable, as you can see you are in root directory or the root partition. So to run this specific command, you need to run with sudo privileges, hit enter, and now you can see that it is allowed. So what I did over here is I have provided full permission on that specific folder just by providing this specific option. So chmod, change mode, and then plus rwx means whether it's owner, whether it's group, whether it's for others, enable read write execute on all of those permissions. So to verify it, you can just run the specific command over here and try it typing ll. So I'm going to erase the writings and then type ll and hit enter. And you can see that the permission was not applied correctly. Maybe the command I provided is correct but was not applied. So for owner, U stands for owner and then G stands for group. So for owner, the first one, the group was second one, and then the others, the third one, and then equals read write execute followed by the name of the folder or directory and then hit enter. Now let us verify ll, hit enter. Now you can see that it's been highlighted with green. That means you have now got full permission. Now why I provided full permission, that means any of the user can access this specific directory in the root directory. So that's why I provided full permission, just to make sure that what we are going to perform now, it's going to work smoothly. So I'm going to get into the directory, change directory, z share, hit enter. Okay, and now I'm going to clear the screen. ll, there's no file over here, so let me create a file. Touch test 1.txt, hit enter, ll to verify, and we can see that test1.txt is created, and it was created by QZenith. So that means QZenith has read and write permission on that specific file. That's good. And then read write permission is provided to that specific group as well. And we know that there's no user or there's no member on that specific group, so no one has that read write permission. And then read is the only permission for others, for the leftover users who is not the owner of this file and who doesn't belong to that specific group has this permission. Now let me show you how it actually works. I'm going to open up a new terminal, Control Shift T, and then it opens up a new tab, Control Shift plus plus, to enlarge the font size, and then I'm going to detach that. So right click on it and detach tab, just to make sure that you've got two different terminals. And then why I'm doing so, because I'm going to log in with two different users over here so that I can see what things are going on with different users. So I'm going to clear the screen. You can see QZenith is logged in, and I'm going to go and log in as user 3. Hit enter, user 3, and then you're logged in as user 3. Okay, cd root and then z share. That means I'm going to go directly to that specific directory that we have created, and then let us verify ll. You can see that test file and then ll. Now both user can see that specific file. Is there any kind of content within that file? I don't think so, because we have created this file with touch command and there's no content. You can see that it's 0 bytes. So if you can read the file, cat test1, hit enter, there's no content. So let us add a content. Echo this file is created by QZenith, and then redirect it to test1.txt, hit enter, clear the screen, ll. You can see that we have got 33 bytes content on that specific file. Okay, can I read now? Cat test1 and then hit enter. This file is created by QZenith. Okay, seems to be fine. So that means the owner can read the file because you have got the read permission, and then owner can also write because you have done some kind of changes. So owner can write as well because you have got the write permission. So QZenith has read permission as well as write permission. Now what about the user 3? Let me clear it, and then ID user 3. So user 3 has user ID 1006 and group ID 1006, and user 3 is only the member of user 3 group and then users group. So user 3 doesn't belong to QZenith group. So that means user 3 cannot read and write because this user doesn't belong to that specific group, and this permission is not allowed to that specific user 3 because this permission is only for that specific owner owner. So user 3 is not the owner of the file. User 3 doesn't have this permission. User 3 is not the member of QZenith group, so that means user 3 doesn't have this read write permission. User 3 is the user that comes in place of this leftover users. So anyone who is not the owner or who doesn't falls into this group has only the read permission. So let's see if we can read that specific file. So cattest1.txt, hit enter. Okay, user 3 can read that file. That's good. Can user 3 modify that file? Let's see. So I'm going to say echo and then some modification done by user 3 and then double greater sign because I want that existing line and then I want to append a new line. So test1.txt and then hit enter. And now you can see that user 3 doesn't have that permission because user 3 belongs to the leftover users, or I would say other users. So it only has got read permission. Can we provide write permission to that specific file for others? Let's see. I'm going to clear the screen and then I would say chmod change mode, and then for others you can use equal sign or you can use plus sign. For others, add read and write permission for test file. Hit enter. So that means LL to verify. Now you can see W is added to that specific file. So that means W is added on others. Who is not the owner or who doesn't belong to that specific group will be having this permission. So we know that user 3 doesn't belong to this group. User 3 is not the owner of this file. So user 3 belongs to that others group. So that means for others, for leftover users, they can read and write. Let's see. So clear the screen, cat test. So let us add something. Echo this file is modified by user 3 and then double greater than sign test1.txt, hit enter. Now you can see that user 3 can successfully change or add content to that specific file because you have got the right permission. So let us read the file, cat test1.txt, and you can see that this file is modified by user 3. Now what if I say, if I'm going to remove read and write both, can user 3 read or write that file? Let's see. So I'm going to do chmod for others minus read write. So that means plus means add, minus means remove for user 3 based upon test1.txt file. Hit enter, LL to verify. Now you can see we have removed the read write permission from others. So that means let's see if this user can read the file. So clear the screen, cat test1.txt, hit enter, permission denied. You can see now that this user cannot read because we don't have any kind of read permission. And what about write? So echo anything and then double greater than sign test1.txt, permission denied. As we expected, user 3 is not the member of QZenith group. User 3 is not the owner of that specific file, so it belongs to others, and others doesn't have any kind of permission, so user 3 cannot access that file. Okay, seems to be fine. So let me do one thing. What if I say that let us add user 3 to QZenith group? So if I add user 3 to QZenith group, that means user 3 will be having this permission as well. Let's see. I'm going to clear the screen, cat/hc group, and then hit enter. So QZenith group doesn't have any members, so I would say sudo user mode minus or dash lowercase a uppercase G followed by the name of the group, that is going to be QZenith, followed by the name of the user, that is user 3, and then hit enter. So when you do that, verify it. So cat/hc group and then hit enter. Now you can see that user 3 is the member of QZenith group. So if user 3 is the member of QZenith group LL, so that means he can now read and write. Let's see. I'm going to clear the screen. Before, you can see that the permission was denied. Clear the screen and then let us read the file first. So cat test1, hit enter, permission denied. So sometimes it happens. So what you need to do is you need to exit out from that specific user, control D, and then again log in to user3. Clear the screen, and then cat cd/z share on that specific folder, ll, okay, test1, and then cat test1, hit enter. Now you can see that user3 can read that file. Can user3 modify the file? Let me see. So echo third line added by user3, double greater than sign, name of the file, hit enter, and you can see that modification can be done. So cat test1.txt, hit enter, and now you can see that user3 can read the file as well as user3 can write the file, because user3 is now the member of QZenith. What if I say, if I'm going to remove this read and write from this specific group as well? So to do that, sudo chmod, this is going to be the group minus remove read and write from test1, and then hit enter, and then ls space minus l. Now you can see there is no read write execute on others, there is no read write on group. So that means anyone, or I would say user3 on that specific group, can't read or write. So let's see. Clear the screen. Cat test1, permission denied, echo anything, double greater than sign, test1, hit enter, permission denied. So this is how the permission is denied, or permission can affect a user based upon whether he can read or write. So only QZenith, the user or the owner, can read or write that specific file. Okay, seems to be fine. What if I say, if I'm going to remove that permission, can QZenith write or read the file? Let me remove this write from that QZenith. So sudo chmod from owner, that is again user, remove write permission from test file, hit enter. Clear the screen, ls space minus l. Now you can see owner can only read the file but cannot write it. So echo anything, and then double greater than sign, and then this test1.txt, and then hit enter. And now you can see that the owner itself doesn't have the right permission, and he cannot do any kind of modification on that specific file. So this is how the permission works in Linux. What if I say, can the owner read the file? Let's see. Cat test, hit enter. Yes, he can read the file. Let us change the permission as well to none. So sudo chmod from user, remove write as well, test1.txt, hit enter. Clear the screen, ll, hit enter. Now there's no permission over here. So if there's no permission, that means even the owner cannot read the file. So if I say cat test1, hit enter, permission denied. So this is how the permission works in Linux. Now, can user3 read the file? He cannot, because user3 is not the owner. Even if he's the owner, he won't be able to read. User3 belongs to the QZenith group, but again, there's no permission for the group, and any of the remaining users in the system, that's again for others permission, they cannot read, write, or execute that specific file. Now let's see if I can change this specific owner. I can do that. So to change the owner, you can do sudo and then chown change owner, and then the name, it's going to be user3 test1.txt, and then hit enter. Now let us verify. Before, the owner of this file was QZenith, so ls space minus l. Now you can see that user3 is the owner of that file. Even though user3 is the owner of that file, he cannot read and write. So let me see. Cat test, yes, permission denied. So let us provide read permission. So sudo chmod change mode, and then it's going to be for owner plus read permission on test1.txt file, hit enter, and then ll, just to verify there is a read permission for the owner. So can user3 now read the file? So ll cat test, hit enter. Yes, he can read the file. Can he modify the file? No, because there is no write permission, though we can check it. Echo anything, double greater than sign, test1, hit enter, permission denied. Can we change the permission for owner? Yes. So sudo chmod, and then for owner add read and write, and then followed by the name of the file, hit enter, ls space minus l. Now you can see read write permission is applied for that specific owner. So clear the screen, and then echo fourth line added by user3 double greater than sign and test1.txt, hit enter, and now you can see that user3 can modify the file because it has got the right permission and he's the owner of the file as well. So ls space minus l, hit enter, that's good, and then cat test1.txt, and you can see that user3 can read as well as write the file. So always make sure that the permissions that you are providing should be valid. You can practice providing any kind of permission in between your user group or the others, but make sure that it works as it is required or needed. So always make sure that for owner, keep it with read and write, and for others you can just provide read permission. So sudo chmod for group, and then for others add read only to test1.txt, hit enter, ls space minus l. Now you can see that only read write is provided to the owner of that specific file. Only read is provided to any of the members that is assigned to this specific group, and then read permission is applied to other users who's not the owner or who doesn't belong to that specific group. They can also read this specific file. So the permissions that we are using is known as symbolic mode because we are using the characters to assign permissions, like this one, the characters. And if you wanted to provide full permission, you can always do sudo chmod and then provide owner group other plus read write execute, and then test file, and then hit enter, and then ls space minus l. Now you can see it's been highlighted, and now any of the users in the system can read, write, execute. Though you don't have to provide execute permission in this file because this file is not executable. This file is a normal text file. So you can always make sure that it's for owner, for group, and for others. You can provide read and write test1.txt, hit enter, ls space minus l, and now you can see read write is there but x remains there. So to remove, you have to make sure to specify minus. So what you can do is read write for others or define minus x, remove executable permission from owner, group, and others, and then hit enter, and then do ll, hit enter, and now you can see that executable permission has been removed from owner, group, and others. So this is how you can use symbolic mode to add and remove permissions for a specific user. Now let us learn about the numeric mode, also known as the octal notation. Now when we talk about octal notation, it is known as the numeric mode. Another name for octal notation, it's nothing but we use numbers for read, write, execute. So we know that R stands for read, and in octal notation read has a value of 4, and then we have got W, that means write, and then write has the value of 2, and then we have got execute. X stands for execute, and execute has the value of 1. If you sum it up, you're going to get the total value of 7. That means read, write, execute. So if you wanted to provide a permission such as read, write, and then read, and then read, how do you provide this permission using the octal notation? The simple command to use this specific permission is by using the chmod, the change mode, followed by read and write. So when you talk about read, it has the value of 4, and when you talk about write, it has the value of 2. So when you sum it up, 4 plus 2, that gives you 6. So that means for owner, you're providing the read write permission, and for group you only have got read, so that means read has the value of 4. So that means you can provide 4 over here for the group and the read permission for others in the system. So that means you're going to provide 4 over here followed by the name of the file, which is again test1.txt. So that means octal notation helps you providing permissions in easier method other than using the symbolic mode as we did previously. So So let me show you how it actually works. So the same I'm going to do over here. I'm going to provide read, write, read and read on a specific file. So let me log in as user 1. So I'm going to clear and then switch user and user 1, hit enter, log in as user 1. Okay, I'm logged in as user 1. cd z share, hit enter, lspace -l. We already have got test 1. Now we know that user 3 is the owner of that specific file. So let me log in as user 3 then. Clear the screen, control D. I'm logged in as user 3 and cd z share. We already are there. Change the permission. So sudo chmod read write, that means 4 plus 2, that gives you 6. And then read only has the value of 4. And then again read only has the value of 4. The name of the file test1 and then hit enter and type the password for user 3. Now there's one thing. Though user 3 is the owner of that specific file, user 3 cannot change the permission because user 3 is not the member of sudo group. That is the main thing. So to make sure that he is in sudo's group, or you can use QZenith or user 1 to change the permission. Let us add user 3 in sudo's group. So id user 3, you can see that user 3 is the member of user 3 group, users group, and then QZenith group. To provide that, you need to log in as QZenith or you need to log in as user 1. So QZenith is already there. Sudo and then user mode minus lowercase a uppercase g followed by the name of the group. That's sudo followed by the name of the user, that's user 3, hit enter and id user 3. Now you can see that user 3 is the member of sudo's group, id user 3. So now user 3 is the member of sudo group, so he can change the permission. So clear the screen, ll sudo chmod 6 again is known as read write, that permission, and then read again it's 4, read again it's 4 for others. The name of the file test1.txt, hit enter and user 3 not in the sudo's file. To make sure, you need to log out first and then again log in. Sometimes it happens, so to get the changes into effect you need to log out and then log in again. cd/z share, hit enter, clear the screen, ll and then sudo chmod 6 again is known as 4 plus 2, that's read and write, 4 that's only read for the group, 4 that's only read for the others, followed by the name of the file, hit enter, user 3, hit enter. Now you can see that it was applied. So LL to verify, hit enter. Now you can see that what we needed as this permission is applied over here on that specific test1.txt file just by using the octal notation or numeric mode. If you wanted to give full permission, you can use sudo chmod 777. 7 means again read, write, execute. That means 4 plus 2 plus 1, that gives you 7. Second 7 again read, write, execute. 4 plus 2 plus 1. Again 7 read, write, execute for the others, and then test1.txt, hit enter, and then to verify ll and then hit enter. You can see that it's been highlighted with bold letters and then you can see all permissions are applied as mentioned. Now let's change some permissions to next level. So let us say that what if I wanted to provide not read, not write, only executed permission for owner user, and then I only wanted to provide not read but write and no executable permission for the group, and I only wanted to provide read and execute for others. So this is again a bit of complex permission, though it doesn't make sense because for owner you never provide only executable permission. So for practicing purpose you can try doing anything, but also make sure that when you work in the production your permission should make sense. Else anyone can access, or maybe no one can access that file. Even the owner cannot access that file. So make sure that the needs and policies are applied as mentioned by your organization or production. So let us see how we can do that. For X, if I say 4 plus 2 plus 1 means for owner only 1 is provided, and then for group 4 plus 2 plus 1. So that means only 2 is provided for group. And then 4 plus 2 plus 1 for others means only 4 and 1 is added. So that means it's going to be 5. So let's see if we can get this specific permission just by providing the octal notation or the numbers. So sudo chmod for owner only executable permission. So that means it's going to be 1. For group only write, so 2. And then for others, that means read and execute 4 plus 1, that gives you 5, followed by the name of the file, and then hit enter. Works fine. LL, hit enter, and you can see that the permission that we have mentioned over here matches. So you can see that this is again the X value for the owner, the write value for the group, and the read and write permission for that specific others, leftover users in the system. So practice on your own. You can do whatever you want. You can practice with any kind of permission that you wanted to, but again, make sure that it makes sense, that the permission that you're providing to owner, group, or others, it should make sense, else you're going to lock yourself accessing that file or folder. So now let us talk about the read, write, execute permission that works for a file and how it is different for a directory. Now, when we talk about file and we have a read permission, that means you can open up the file and see what's inside, such as using cat or nano command. And on the other hand, whereas for a directory, when you provide read permission, you can look into the room. That means you can do ls within that specific directory from outside, such as if you have got a directory named directory1, you can just run lsdir1 to verify what is the content within that specific directory. So that's about read permission. And for a file, when you provide write permission, means it is to change or modify or delete a text or save a new data in a file. Whereas in directory, if you provide write permission, that means you can move the files. Let's say you can create files within the directory, you can change the file, you can delete the file within that specific directory, or you can rename the file on that specific directory. And the third permission, based upon file permission, if you provide E or execute, you can run the file as a program or script. If you have got any kind of script such as program.sh, the shell, or maybe .py, the Python file with the extension. So that means those are the scripts. So if you have got a script, that means you can provide executable permission and then you can execute or run that specific program. But on the folder permission, if you are providing E execute, that means you can enter that specific directory. So if you have got read, if you have got write on the folder permission, and then if you don't have execute, that means you cannot enter the specific directory. That means you cannot do cd change directory to get into that specific directory. So that's the main thing to remember. So you try by yourself using these permissions. With file, it works differently, and then with directory, it works differently. So this is all about permissions for a file and folder, and we have covered a lot of things. Not only permissions, we have seen how we can change the owner of a specific file as well. So this is it in this video. Hope it was informative for you. I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching.